The story starts and we see a girl. As soon as she climbed the stairs and entered the room, fear was clearly visible on her face. She saw that her roommate was sitting on the wall of the house without any reason, just staring blankly. A few hours before all this, 4 friends were sitting together in a room discussing a cheating boyfriend. One of the girls, Nurul, had recently been betrayed by her boyfriend. The other 3 were upset seeing her condition and wanted to teach her ex-boyfriend a lesson. But the girl said she had already forgotten everything and moved on. Then the girl asked if anyone had ever felt the pressure of an invisible force during sleep, like something sitting on their chest. But the other girls denied it. Just then, Samada jokingly said, "What if you've accidentally called some evil spirit? Because such forces usually attack at night while people are asleep." The other girls took her words lightly, thinking she was just joking. But then she told them an old folktale. She said that many years ago, a woman suffered from a strange illness. People used to say it was caused by an evil spirit. That spirit's name was Beuno. It was said to target vulnerable and weak women, and Beuno would enter their bodies while they slept. The other girls were shocked to hear this, but one of them laughed and said, "Okay, then tell us. How do you summon Beuno?" Silmi jokingly told her the method. Tanya picked up a mirror, stared at her reflection, and started muttering something, as if chanting a spell. But nothing happened, and everyone laughed it off and went to bed. Then in the middle of the night, something terrifying happened. Nurul suddenly started trembling and got up from her bed and began to walk. Tanya, seeing all this, follows behind and, upon reaching the top, witnesses the same horrifying scene that was shown at the beginning of the story. After the incident, Tanya becomes mentally shattered and returns home. She is a professional tennis player, but now she has lost her sleep. She can't focus during practice and often starts hallucinating. Her father, who is also her coach, pressures her to work hard, which only adds to her stress. One night, completely exhausted, Tanya falls asleep in her car, but then she feels as if some force is trying to control her body. At that moment, the spirit of her deceased friend appears and warns her, saving her from that evil force. Tanya doesn't understand why all this is happening to her. She goes home and heads to the swimming pool, hoping a swim will calm her mind. As soon as she gets into the pool, she feels like someone suddenly grabs her throat and tries to drown her. Somehow, she manages to free herself and barely escapes. Terrified, she immediately runs away from the pool. But as soon as she leaves, that invisible force makes its presence felt again. At night while sleeping, the same terrifying force takes control of Tanya's body again. She remembers that a girl named Silmi once told her about an evil spirit named Beuno, which possesses women and exploits them. And now the same thing is happening to Tanya. The next day, Tanya tells her boyfriend Koki about everything, but he dismisses it as superstition. Just then, Koki notices a strange mark on Tanya's neck. He becomes suspicious, thinking Tanya has cheated on him, despite her repeated attempts to explain. But Koki didn't listen to a word she said and, in anger, slapped her. Tanya swore she hadn't done anything wrong and clung to Koki. But then a strange hardness came over her face. It was as if someone else was staring out from her eyes. The next day, Tanya and her teammate Leona were practicing, but Tanya couldn't focus. Leona mocked her, and the two started arguing. The coach tried to intervene, but the mood had already soured. Later in the changing room, Tanya's behavior turned even more frightening. She stared at Leona and suddenly attacked her, pushing her against the locker, throwing her onto the bench and began strangling her. When Tanya came to her senses, she messaged Leona to apologize but got no reply. Irritated, she sent her an angry message instead. Meanwhile, Leona was sleeping in her car when suddenly an invisible force strangled her, and she died right there. Back at Tanya's place, just after she finished showering, Koki grabbed her from behind and the two shared an intimate moment, unaware that Tanya's younger brother was watching through the window. A little later, Koki returned to his home. Just then, the power went out. When he stepped outside with a torch, a shard of glass pierced his foot. It was clear some force was warning him, as if saying, "Tanya belongs to me." The next day, Tanya gets the news that Leona has died. She breaks down in tears. But when a friend tries to comfort her with a hug, Koki sees it and flies into a rage, attacking the boy. Tanya, shocked by this, gets angry and walks away. When she reaches home, she finds out that her brother is complaining to their parents about her. The moments spent with Koki the previous night. Hearing this, Tanya becomes even more furious and angrily says that everyone should just die. She goes to her room and sees a threatening message from Koki on her phone. Now she is completely shattered. On the other side, her brother is listening to music. While listening, he gets so excited that he has an asthma attack. He frantically searches for his inhaler and somehow manages to survive, but his relief doesn't last long. In her sleep, Tanya hears someone calling her name. When she opens her eyes, she sees the same girl with flowing hair standing there, signaling her to quickly go upstairs and check on her younger brother. Tanya rushes upstairs and sees a dark shadow looming over her brother. The next moment, it vanishes into smoke. But her brother's eyes remain wide open. He had died. Soon, the family performed his last rites. During the ceremony, when Tanya saw that girl again, she no longer felt afraid. Her brother's death had erased the fear within her. Back in her room, when she looked at her brother's photo, her eyes filled with tears. At that moment, she remembered an old photo taken by Koki. When she zoomed in on it, she saw that same evil shadow was near them, even back then. Tanya then started researching on the internet about a spirit named Beuno and superstitions about beings that attack during sleep. She found out that spirits like Beuno had caused the deaths of many people. Meanwhile, her mother had gone to a beauty parlor where she mysteriously died for unknown reasons. These continuous deaths had completely broken Tanya from within. Frustrated by the pain, she called out to the spirits, the Beunos. She challenged them to come forward. Just then, a thought struck her. Every time she had told someone to die, they actually did die shortly afterward. Her mind went to her father. She was afraid that he might be the next target. She immediately went out to find him and reached just in time. Her father was so devastated by the death of the mother and son that he was thinking of ending his life. Tanya explained to him that if he lost consciousness, Beunos could attack. Now she began to worry about Koki. She headed towards his house, but by that time Beunos had already taken control of Koki. As soon as Koki put his hand into the juicer and turned it on, another tragedy occurred. Tanya's car, which was speeding down the road, met with an accident. By the time the ambulance arrived, she was already unconscious. Meanwhile, her father was not asleep, but his mental state had become extremely fragile. Taking advantage of this weakness, Beunos took control of his mind. Tanya was taken to the hospital, and her life was saved. After regaining consciousness, she stepped outside the hospital, only to see Koki being brought in on a stretcher. His condition was even worse than hers. Just then, her teacher arrived at the hospital to meet her and told her that her father had attempted suicide and had also been brought to the hospital. Hearing this, Tanya panicked. She kept repeating that her father must not fall asleep now or he would die. The teacher calmed her down and said that every problem has a solution. Tanya then told the teacher everything that had happened over the past few nights. The teacher explained that this spirit becomes active every night around 3:15 a.m., the time when human consciousness is at its weakest. They were now convinced that Beunos was nearby and it was time to confront it. Both Koki and Tanya's father were taken to the ICU, and there Rania began chanting mantras. Suddenly, a dark and shadowy world appeared before her eyes, where her father and Koki were hanging in cocoon-like silken pods. Just then, Beuno appeared. She grabbed Tanya and began to strangle her. Tanya remembered what her teacher had said, "If your mind is strong, no evil spirit can even touch you." Tanya closed her eyes and began chanting the mantra with full strength. Soon the demonic spirit's body was engulfed in flames. Her screams echoed around, but in a few moments, she turned to ash and vanished into the wind, leaving no trace behind. After that terrifying ordeal, Tanya's father regained consciousness and his life was saved. But sadly, Koki, who had been struggling for his life, succumbed to his serious injuries and passed away. The story ended with a bit of relief. Tanya won the national tennis championship. She had become stronger and more confident than ever. Everyone felt that life was finally back on track. But then, another girl, an inquisitive college student, began experimenting with books on black magic and tried to summon that same spirit again. With this, the story ends here. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section. Also, subscribe to this channel for more horror stories like this.